Meet the new boss. Not the same as the old boss. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our awesome audiophile content, including reviews, how-tos, buying guides, and more. And click the bell so you get notified right away when we post a new video. If you're an audiophile who likes to take your music with you, listen up. Sony has released a new Walkman in its ZX series, the ZX707. You can download apps with it, stream music with it, and you can use it wired or wirelessly with your favorite headphones or IEMs. Oh, and it sounds amazing. It's an update to the ZX507, which came out back in 2019. The ZX707 has gotten some nice upgrades, but the price has only gone up $70 to $898. I'm going to give it to you right here and say I think the upgrades are worth every penny. Better battery life? Hello. Bigger screen? Yes, please. Higher grade internals? Sure. Now, when you compare the ZX707 to the ZX507, it's easy to see the physical differences. The rounded design and silver chassis of the 507 has been updated to straight edges and a black body with gold touches. The ZX707 has also grown in size and weight. At 8 ounces, the ZX707 weighs 2.2 ounces more than its predecessor. It also has a bigger screen, 5 inches versus 3.6 inches, and a larger overall body. Now, I really liked the form factor of the ZX507, so I wasn't sure how I would feel about the changes. I was envisioning something approaching the size and weight of the more substantial WM series Walkmans. Walkmen? And I would have been unhappy because you do need to have different size options. The reality, though, is that a 2-ounce increase doesn't make a whole lot of difference in the weight, and the device doesn't really seem that big. Yes, it is bigger than the ZX507, but it's still smaller and lighter than my iPhone, and it still fits quite nicely in the palm of my hand. Now, the body is made from milled aluminum, and there's this rippled wave design on the rear of the unit, which looks cool and provides a nice grip. For inputs and outputs, there's a stereo mini jack and balanced standard jack for headphones, and a microSD card slot for up to 512 gigabytes of added memory, and a USB-C port for charging and music file transfer. You'll get a USB-A to USB-C cable with your ZX707. Now, here on the right side are the power, volume up and down, and playback buttons. There is also a hold button. You switch it on to prevent the controls from being activated while the device is in your bag or pocket. The ZX707 has 2 home screens, the Android home screen and the Walkman home screen. You can set either one to be your main home screen. You tap on the home button on the bottom to get there. And you can easily toggle between the 2 home screens by swiping left or right. Now, the Walkman home screen has a music player widget, which allows you to control music playback without having to launch any apps. This is also where your apps related to music are displayed. For example, I downloaded Qobuz, so here is the Qobuz icon on my Walkman home screen. Let's talk more about the UI. From the home screen, you can access the Sony Headphones Connect app, your music library, and sound settings. Let me show you those real quick. You have the 10-band equalizer, latest generation DSEE Ultimate for upscaling, the DC phase linearizer, the dynamic normalizer, vinyl processor, and DSD remastering. Ooh, and here's a cool feature that I like. Swipe up on the status bar from the Walkman home screen to access this digital volume knob that echoes classic analog design. Internally, the ZX707 shares some features with the higher-priced WM1A M2 and the WM1Z M2. Things like latest generation high polymer capacitors and solder with gold that help increase soundstage and transparency and that elevate the sound of the ZX707 over the 507. The ZX707 has a big, rich, warm, and clear sound with playback up to 384 kHz 32-bit. It's the type of sound that takes you by the hand and leads you straight into the music, so you feel fully engaged. I hear plenty of detail in my favorite tracks, but there's also a smoothness to the sound. Detailed and smooth might seem contradictory, but in this case they are not. The bass is warm and generously punchy, drum hits feel dimensional, and bass guitars sound deep and rich. Moving up the audio spectrum, I enjoy the tonality of instruments in the mid-range, and vocals are pleasingly rich and emotive. The highs do their job without being fatiguing or harsh. Overall, my favorite music to listen to on the ZX707 is classic rock, pop, classical, and jazz and soul. Now, maybe you're deciding between the ZX707 and the WM1A M2, which costs $500 more. So what do you get for $500 more? As far as ergonomics, the WM1A M2 is 2 ounces heavier as well as taller and slightly wider than the ZX707. Both have 5-inch screens, and either one can fit in your hand or pocket, but the ZX707 fits more effortlessly. I cannot say that word today. Effortlessly.
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 There you go.
There you go.
Either one can fit in your hand or pocket, but the ZX707 fits a little more effortlessly, especially if you have smaller hands. But while their physical specs aren't so wildly different, the WM1A just seems a bit bigger. In terms of I/O and controls, there are a few differences between the ZX707 and the WM1A M2. The hold switch on the top left side of the WM1A M2 has been moved to the bottom right side of the ZX707. And the volume controls on the WM1A M2 lie in an indented part of the chassis, making it very easy for your thumb to find them. Now, with 128 gigabytes, the WM1A M2 has twice as much internal memory as the ZX707. You're also going to get up to 40 hours of playback with the WM1A M2 versus 25 on the ZX707. That being said, 25 hours is still really darn good. Now, when it comes to sound, the ZX707 can be compared to the first generation WM1A. In other words, it sounds like what the WM1A used to sound like. When comparing the ZX707 to the WM1A M2, I can definitely hear a difference. The WM1A M2 has a similar tonality, but there's more clarity to the sound. Notes sound more complete. It's like the ZX707, just more. And that's to be expected as you climb the price ladder. As far as power, the ZX707 does not have the juice to drive higher impedance planar magnetic headphones. For example, you're not going to drive the Hi-Fi Man Susvara. I tried the Dan Clark Ion 2 with the ZX707 and it was a no-go. However, I was able to drive the Audeze LCD2. But overall, the ZX707 is going to work best with lower impedance headphones or with IEMs. If you do need more juice, you'll want to consider the WM1A M2. Now, I want to give you a quick tip regarding security. The ZX707 runs on Android 12, and like other Android devices, it comes pre-equipped with the Google Play Store and a host of Google-supported apps. So when you log into the Google Play Store to download something, you are automatically logged in to all of your Google apps, including email. This can present a security risk given that your device is protected by a simple passcode. You would have to go in and log out of or manually uninstall each app that you don't want, and that would be a pain. To get around this, you can bypass the Google Play Store and instead manually install any APK or Android-based apps that you desire directly onto the device. This can be done through apkpure.com. We've linked a blog post about this below. It was written in regard to Estelle and Kern music players, but it is relevant for Sony as well. Now, a quick word about audio cables, since that's what we specialize in here at Moon Audio. Our Dragon cables are made with the highest purity UPOCC silver and copper, so you can be assured of the cleanest, clearest sound. Now, Sony players have a warm tonality, which makes the Silver Dragon headphone cable or IEM cable a good match. The Silver Dragon is going to add some top-end sizzle and ensure that the low end stays controlled. We call it the Detail Lover's cable. However, you'll want to take the sound of your headphones or IEMs into account as well when choosing a cable. For example, if you're using an analytical sounding headphone, you might choose a Black Dragon cable to add some warmth and bottom end weight. I used the Empire Ears Hero IEM with my Sony, and I like to use a Black Dragon, so I took that liberty. There are no rules really when it comes to cable pairings. Head on over to moon-audio.com to learn more. Let's sum it up. The Sony ZX707 is an excellent upgrade over the previous generation ZX507. With the 5-inch screen, up to an awesome 25 hours of playback, a USB DAC function, and next generation upscaling, the upgrades are apparent. The ZX707 has a warm, rich, and wonderfully clear sound that is especially good for rock, classical, jazz, blues, and vocals. Going up the Sony Walkman price ladder, you have the WM1AM2 for about $500 more than the ZX707. You will get a grander sound with even more transparency and more power, but you'll also be toting around a larger player. Now, if you're basing your decision purely on sound quality, go ahead and look at the WM1AM2. But if you want a pretty darn awesome sounding digital music player in a smaller, lighter package, I highly recommend the Sony ZX707. To learn more about the ZX707, check out our written review, which we've linked below. If you have any questions, leave us a comment. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much for watching.